Hey, everybody, this is Jimmy. You're reading with Jimmy, and this is the 10-minute breakdown of one of the most comprehensive books I've ever read. It's called The Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, subtitled The Guide to Life, Death, and Inner Peace. That's my subtitle. So I'd like to welcome you to this 10-minute reading to get you involved so you can read all of the meditations with me. So welcome. Now, what if I told you that one of the most powerful men in history, who was an emperor of Rome, spent his nights writing private thoughts about how to be a better person, how to be a better emperor, how to be a better warrior? What if I told you that? Well, it's true. That's Marcus Aurelius. And he wrote the Meditations, which was his personal journal, and became one of the most influential philosophical works that was ever written. He used to go and kill barbarians during the day, and he wrote his thoughts down at night. It's an amazing man, amazing. So welcome to my QuickTakes, which are my 10-minute breakdowns to get you to read the books with me, classical literature, to learn how other people lead their lives and how to lead our own. So I want to dive for the next 10 minutes into some of the wisdom of this guy. So what's his story? Well, Marcus Aurelius was an emperor from 161 to 180 BC. He's often called the philosopher king. He led Rome through wars and plagues and chaos, but he was really devoted to philosophy, and Meditations wasn't really meant for the public. It was his personal diary, his notebook. But fortunately, it lasted through the ages, and we have it before us to help us understand what he was going through and some of the things that we go through. So what's this about? Well, it's not really a novel in the sense that we read other classics on Reading with Jimmy, but it's a collection of his thoughts, his reflections. It's a diary. It's reminders about life. It's short, powerful passages covering how to handle stress, power. He's continually writing about, doubting himself and reminding himself that he's the emperor. He's supposed to listen to people. Lots of good stuff in here. And it comes out actually about human nature. He's a Stoic, and Stoicism is really a branch of philosophy that you can study about, and we will learn about as we read this guy. And it's a guide for facing hardships. And is there anyone in the audience that does not have hardships? But to face them with reason, discipline, and strength. Don't give in to your emotions. Some of the key lessons: control what you can and ignore what you can't. That's pretty sound advice, isn't it? You can't control events, so you can only react to them. You've heard that before, perhaps? You can. You control your reaction. That's the key to success. Sometimes bad things happen, so just accept it. There's a passage in here where he's contemplating, thinking about his son who died, and some of the many academics can't understand how he could be so feelingless. It's not a matter of being feelingless. It's a matter of practicing Stoicism, accepting what is. And you're going to die. So he says, Marcus Aurelius, let's accept it. Life is short. Focus on what really matters. Don't waste your time. He's got a lot of things in here about not wasting time. That's why I love doing this with you, 10-minute readings and then reading books with you, because time is the only non-renewable resource. Happiness comes from within. Things don't make you happy. They come from within us. And that's what he tries to teach us through these meditations. He wasn't teaching us. He was writing this for himself. And to do the right thing, no matter what, even if it's difficult, do the right thing and be honest, kind, and just, even when others are not. That's a hard rule, but that's what he tried to remind himself of. And revenge and resentment, they only harm you. Don't you find this refreshing? So let's continue. What else is the story about? What else is in here? I couldn't do it in 10 minutes. It's inspired leaders, thinkers, warriors for 2,000 years. Generals, CEOs, self-help gurus get a lot from this guy. And it's still a bestseller today, proving that his words are really timeless. And I really encourage you to read the Meditations with Jimmy. I've had several people who email me and tell me They really, really like this. In fact, I have my dentist actually can tell me in person that he finds the meditations especially reflective and the down-to-earth style in which I deliver this. So what's Marcus Aurelius' deal? Well, what is the deal? You see the three words in the graphic: virtue, reason, and self-control. Because he wasn't writing just philosophy. He was writing about surviving. Grief can kill you. You know that, right? Stoicism is not about feeling nothing. We all have feelings. It's about handling how we feel. That's difficult, isn't it? Sometimes we're overpowered by our feelings because the world's chaotic. But you can't change it. You can, however, control yourself. You can change your reaction to it. Don't think about changing the world. Think about changing yourself. As Socrates says, one of his teachers that he studied, know thyself. Live simply, but act justly and don't fear. He doesn't like pomp and circumstance, right? He doesn't like that. He's a humble emperor. And he wasn't cold-hearted, even though he killed a lot of barbarians. He was a man trying to do the right thing in a very brutal world. And if you think the world has changed and is no longer brutal, have you looked around? Have you looked around? Some of the themes: self-control over emotion. It's not Spock from Star Trek. Spock had no emotions. He has emotions, but he's controlling his emotions. Anger and fear, to Marcus, they're useless distractions. So he's telling himself to train himself and respond with wisdom, right? The fleeting nature of life. Nothing lasts forever. Fame, fortune, cities, right? He's constantly reminding himself of that. So focus on what matters, and virtue above all else. Live with justice, discipline, courage. That's really what defines a great person. When you read the Meditations with Jimmy, that's what we're going to be learning in all of these hours of reading, because this is a long book, ladies and gentlemen. Marcus wasn't trying to impress anyone. Remember, he didn't write this for any person. He wrote it for himself after a long day of killing barbarians, right? So why does it matter today? What the heck? Why should I read a 2,000-year-old book? Some people call it a self-help book. Well, because life is still unpredictable, right? You don't know what's coming around the corner. And Stoicism helps us to stay calm, adapt, and endure. You understand that? Because we still get stuck in our own heads, don't you? Oh, gosh. Sometimes Marcus reminds us that most of our problems, they come from within our heads. Just relax. Look around you. Smell the coffee, right? Because my success books steal from Marcus Aurelius. Tony Robbins, you've heard of him, right? Today's self-improvement industry borrows heavily from this guy. So why read today when you can read the original? That's what Jimmy always says. Read the original. And because we all want peace, don't we? Whether you're a leader, a worker, a person trying to deal with life, a death, whatever, meditation gives you timeless wisdom on handling stress, fear, and uncertainty. So calling all readers, come on. That's Meditations in 10 minutes. I tried to do it justice in 10 minutes, and I didn't. You're going to have to read them with me. You don't have to read it all at once. You can take your time with Jimmy. You're on my website now, if you're reading this 10-minute introduction to Marcus Aurelius Meditations. So just go and start reading it, right? You can also, read my YouTube, and you can go to YouTube and listen to it like a podcast. I'm going to analyze everything he talks about, every truth, and I'm going to give you lessons that still apply today. So let me leave you with this final question. If you could control just one thing in your life, if you could control just one thing, what would that thing be? What would it be? You want other classics broken down? Jimmy at readingwithjimmy.com, Jimmy at readingwithjimmy.com. And thanks for listening to this. Don't leave yet. This is what it looks like when you land on my website. We've got 12 meditations, each between 40 minutes and an hour and a half. Great, great content. We take our time. And then we have 4 analysis, which range about an hour each. After meditation 1, I did an analysis, and then 1 to 6 and 1 to 6 part 2. So final analysis is with everything else rolled into one. There's a QR code. Please come and read the meditations with me, and meditations, why don't we let's think about it, huh, ladies and gentlemen? Give it some thought. Thanks for listening.